you physically changed, haven't you? The photographs of you, if I look at them.
No, it's called adolescence. It's called growing and changing.
So why are you so defensive when people say Mick Jagger's had one, Paul McCartney may have had one, Michael Jackson's had one?
They don't do it that way.
What do they do?
They just pick on me like I'm the only one that does it. That's why.
Welcome to the Dark Times channel. So recently I came across an image of what Michael Jackson, the late great, legendary and iconic Michael Jackson would have looked like before all the work, before all the plastic surgery, and before all the different procedures that he had done to his face. And say what you want about Michael Jackson and feel how you want to feel about the legendary and iconic Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was an artist, and so I simply judge him by his art. I didn't know Michael Jackson. I don't know any of these entertainers. I won't say any, but I don't know 99.9% of these entertainers, and neither do most of us. And so we judge them by their art. Unless we have evidence, and unless there's evidence to prove otherwise, we judge them by their art. And we judge them by the performances, and we judge them by their talent, their artistic talent. And so first things first, I guess let's go ahead and get this out the way. Let's get the elephant out of the room, so to speak, conversation out of the way. And that's the conversation of self-hatred. And self-hatred being the reason as to which Michael Jackson felt like he needed to make these changes to his face and alter his appearance in such a way. Let's go ahead and get that conversation out of the way. If you're just looking at it from a surface level, on the surface, it would seem that Michael Jackson had a level of self-hate that we couldn't even describe. It's almost unimaginable. And I would say that's the easy answer. That's the layup, so to speak. That's the slam dunk. But we're not talking about a regular person here when we're talking about Michael Jackson. We're not talking about a regular person by any stretch of the imagination. You're talking about somebody that was a high-level thinker to the degree that you can't even understand. I would say most of you, including myself, couldn't even comprehend the level of genius when it comes to Michael Jackson. And I'm not talking about just as a musician or just as an artist or a singer or a dancer or anything like that. I'm talking about an all-around thinker, a three-dimensional, damn near four-dimensional thinker. Because when we're talking about and we're discussing a true genius is the ability to create. And when I mean create something that you couldn't even imagine. Create something that you couldn't even fathom. You couldn't even possibly comprehend the idea. It was unfathomable until you saw it happen right in front of your eyes. That's a true genius. And that's just talking about the entertainer, Michael Jackson. That's just talking about the performer, what you saw in front of the camera. But to even get to that level, the level that he did, and I'm not talking about the level as far as the level that people should strive to be at. I'm not talking about that. That's a whole different conversation. As far as being on top of the world and having monetary gain and all that kind of thing, we're not even going to get into that. That's a whole different discussion. And so where Michael Jackson's true genius comes into play, and most people don't even realize this. I would say it's because most people don't want to realize it. Because what I'm about to drop on you is not only a reflection of society, but it's also a reflection of yourself. A lot of times we like to pass things off, like the things that happen in society and how society thinks. And we like to detach it from ourselves. We like to think that we think differently somehow, that we think on a higher level. And maybe you do, maybe you don't. But we know one thing for certain. Most of us all think the same. That's just a reality. It's just a reality. Most people, when it comes down to it, we all think the same. We don't think any differently than anybody else. Most of you aren't special. It sounds crazy to say. Most of us are not special. There's nothing special about us. And I'm not saying that that's a good or a bad thing. I'm just simply stating a reality. As they like to say, it is what it is. And so what most people fail to realize, or like I said, what most people don't want to realize, is that if it wasn't for the cosmetic surgery, and that if it wasn't for all the plastic surgery and the alterations that he chose to undergo, the truth is, I won't say the truth, there's always different truths, but the reality is we wouldn't have had the same level of Michael Jackson. As talented as he was as an artist, even Michael knew that his talent alone wasn't enough. And if you think any differently and you feel any differently, and I'm not saying you're wrong for thinking differently, that's never a bad thing, but on this particular subject, if you think about it, that's really just your ego, and your ego telling you that you would have saw Michael Jackson as the Michael Jackson as you know him now. It's really just your ego. Your ego is telling you that the world still would have saw him the same. And in a sense, you would have still saw him the same and flocked to buy his albums and flocked to see him float across the stage. And what seems like he levitated at times when he walked in the room. And people would pass out at the mere sight, at the mere touch of him. I've witnessed this before. I've seen crowds of people. I've been at an amusement park. I've been to an amusement park when Michael Jackson was there. As a kid, I've been to an amusement park when Michael Jackson showed up, and half the park instantly rushed to the side of the park that Michael Jackson was on. Rushed to try to get a picture or a handshake, a hug, or whatever the case may be. I've seen this. And so the Michael Jackson in this picture, before any plastic surgery, before any vitiligo, the Michael Jackson in this picture can go to any amusement park in the world that he wants to and not have that happen to him. That's just the reality. And as I said earlier in the video, you can go back and make the claim that Michael Jackson suffered from a level of self-hate. You can make that claim. Two things can be true. But one thing's for certain, Michael Jackson used it. Whatever level of self-hate that you may have think that he had, he used it. And he parlayed it. He parlayed a weakness into a strength. Like I said, this picture right here, Michael Jackson, doesn't have droves of people in an amusement park. Half the park, damn near, rushed to go take a picture with him, or rushed to get a handshake, a look, a peek at what is the Michael Jackson that he created. And another artist that did this along the same lines is Prince. Prince actually did the same thing that Michael Jackson did, to some degree. I would say Michael Jackson was more of an extreme case, but maybe not. Actually, looking at some of these pictures, they were damn near on the same level when it comes to creating something that people have never seen before. Creating an image that's unique, a style that's unique. People want to see good entertainers. People want to see good singers, good musicians. They want to see that stuff. We want to see that stuff. People want to see it. But people will spend their hard-earned money and money that they don't even have and borrow money that they don't even have to go see Michael Jackson. That's the difference. That's the difference. And you could make the argument that Michael Jackson was the first successful one to do it. At least to that degree. I'm sure there was entertainers in the past that were somewhat of a freak show. Maybe they painted their face or wore some interesting wardrobes or costumes or something like that. I'm sure that was way before Michael Jackson. But we're talking about not only somebody that was different in appearance, but also different in their delivery. They had the talent, the raw talent, to back up this persona and this perception of themselves that they had created. We had never seen anything like that. And a lot of people would look at that and they would say that Michael Jackson was putting on a performance. he was acting, that it was all an act. But if you think about it, it's everybody else who's acting and who was acting. Because you're not going in to buy the Off the Wall album or the Thriller album and stand in line like people used to have to do back in the day for an hour or however long the case is, and drive down to the record store and get a copy of Michael Jackson. You're not doing that if it's Michael Joe Jackson on the cover, as is. And I'm not saying everybody, but on a large scale, on a global scale, that wasn't going to happen. That's not happening. You're not standing in the rain to buy some tickets for Roger Nelson, the artist formerly known as Prince. You're not going down there to buy Roger Nelson tickets. You're going down there to buy Prince tickets. And it's not just the name, it's the image too. You can't have one without the other. And this is something that, like I said, not only Michael Jackson understood, but also Prince understood. And especially for a so-called black artist. Michael Jackson would have been a great artist no matter what. His music would have been great. He would have been a great dancer, a great entertainer, but he wouldn't have been Michael Jackson. And like I said, most likely he'd be touring right now. He'd be touring right now with Babyface and Anita Baker. And he would have been the headline. And that's no disrespect. That just shows the level of appreciation that I have for Babyface and the artist Anita Baker. So that's something I think that's very simple to consider. But a lot of people don't want to face the reality. They want to pretend that Michael Jackson would have still been Michael Jackson. And I think that's going to be a good spot to go ahead and end this video. And like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, make sure you guys are hitting those thumbs up buttons for me and making sure you're subscribed and your notifications and alerts are turned on. Some people keep complaining that the Dark Black Magic channel has been mysteriously getting dropped out of their subscriptions, and they are getting notifications. And so make sure everything checks out so you can keep getting updates when new videos drop. And so let me know how you guys feel in the comment section. I'm always surprised to have people that agree with me, and then I'm also surprised to have people that disagree with me. So let me know how y'all feel, even if you disagree. And as usual, peace and chaos.